announcements for today for you regarding some extracurricular opportunities that are coming up. Yay, extracurriculars. I wanted to mention that we'll shoot for credit. We're entering a new semester, so we are currently in the process of planning for our next films. We're doing a couple of documentaries, we're doing a mockumentary, and then we're doing 2 dramatic productions. One of the dramatic productions is a period piece that is set like in the 1920s. We're hoping to shoot off campus in one of the mansions along Stonewall Road. We're in process of working out the details of that. And then the other is going to be set, I believe, in an office setting. They both have fairly large casts, so we are hosting auditions, not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, which is like the first Wednesday of March. So if you are interested at all in being a part of the We'll Shoot for Credit films, you should plan to come to auditions. We can send you ahead of time pieces of the script that you can use to audition if you want to take a look at it, practice it a little bit. We have character sketches, and then we have pieces of script to go with each one of the characters that we're auditioning. You can audition for more than one part that night, and you can participate in more than one film if your schedule allows. So all you have to do is shoot me an email if you want information on the scripts, and I can email that out to you. In addition to actors, we're also looking for some production assistants. You don't have to be a video major. You don't have to have had any of the video film courses, but if you're interested at all in participating and learning a little bit about the behind the scenes process, we'd love to take you on and train you to be a PA. That involves shooting all day, usually from 7 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night on a Saturday. And there will be 2 or 3 Saturdays this month in which we'll be having those shoots. You can commit to one or all 3. And we can give you those dates ahead of time. I also wanted to mention, do we have auditions coming up for something in drama?
Yeah, we have our directing class, 10 directing students who are doing a 10 to 15 minute scene. Our objective is to get 50 auditioners, and there's going to be some cool scenes with some wonderful student directors. That will be next Thursday, the 25th.
Okay.
From 5:30 to 7:30.
All right, so that's actually the night, no it isn't. So that's the week before our We'll Shoot for Credit auditions. Yeah. What about the night of scenes? Do you have a date for that?
Yeah, that's early May. I think it's the first weekend, Thursday through first Thursday through Sunday of May.
Okay.
We're also going to be doing some readings of plays, and Biddy Higgins is looking for more readers. She knows a lot of people who are good actors, but she wants to expand the pool, so a lot of people are interested. If you're interested in being on the list of people who read, and we're just you read the script once, and then we invite people to just come and listen to the play being read. They're famous plays, great plays, so it's a pretty informal thing, but contact Biddy if you're interested in doing that.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think it's this Sunday night. Are they having the Pulse? Learn more about the Pulse kind of thing. Is that Sunday night?
Yes.
Tell us about that, Kayla.
Sunday night, and in the library downstairs, there's this call-out meeting we're looking for. It's at 5:30. We're looking for writers, editors, designers, photographers, video people, anybody who has talents, please come. Yeah, we're looking for all sorts of people. Our first planning meeting for the next issue is this coming Monday, so if you want to write, come then. Or we also have food Sunday night, so.
Yes.
One more thing, I wanted to just commend our production of Picnic. It was a very striking production of a play that is much more difficult than it looks. And I felt congratulations to our colleague Mindy Maples, and there were some performances there that were so riveting. My contention is that some of the roles could have been won. Some of the students could have won the role professionally. That's how striking it was. So, thank you to that production process, all involved.
Anything else? All right, I wanted to mention, I pulled up the Facebook page for We'll Shoot for Credit. I wanted you to know that that exists, and maybe you can like that page or follow it. We also have a department webpage. Why are they confused? We have a department webpage that is actually very, very active, and we post on there almost daily. We'll post about activities and events and happenings in the department, but we also post a lot of job openings and internship opportunities on that page. So if you if you haven't liked or aren't following this page, then I would encourage you to do that. And then the Drama Club has a page. Now, is there something other than Drama Club? Or is it?
It's the SAU Drama Club, that's the one.
Okay, so that's it. All right, and so you may want to follow that one as well. We also have a Twitter account, if you weren't aware of that. Spring Arbor Communications, and there are a lot of jobs that get posted there, and we also often post links to articles that deal with communication, careers, vocation in the field, and sometimes you can find some interesting reading by following us. Anything else they should add? Dr. Metz? Do we have any other social media accounts?
What's the handle for the Twitter account?
I don't know. This is what I have on my account. This is the one I follow. This is not...
Well, there's one called SAU Com. I don't know what that's called.
Okay. So scratch this one.
Well, no, we should just figure out which one we want and do one.
Do we want to pick now? Or will
I think
send
it
an
requires
email?
a high level, top secret meeting.
Secret ballot, it's like the academy.
I think it requires a meeting off campus. I don't know. It seems to me like it's just too important to decide on the fly.
Right, and it would probably involve a lot of high-end food at that meeting. Okay, so we'll get back to you on that.
Can you tell me what the Twitter name is of that?
I believe it's Spring Arbor Communications.
It looks like that's your search, and maybe the actual account might be your SAU com.
Yeah, what's the name?
Heather, I love you.
I know, right? Well done.
Well, let me see what's
Thank
on it.
Jason Archer, I'm taking his online social media class.
There it is, there it is.
It's the egg at the very top. It should go to your profile. If you're logged in on
Yeah, that's it.
there's a profile.
I'm pretty sure it's called Spring Arbor Communications because we follow it.
Alright, so there's another one called SAU Com.
Yeah, that's the one that you guys follow for web.
Instead of top, you go to
We're
account.
gonna pick one and we'll tell you later.
Also, follow the polls.
Maybe
That's the
another
one I'm following.
All right, now that we don't have that straightened out, we'll move on. A reminder for the freshmen, and thank you for being here today. Our freshman foresight interviews should be taking place beginning next week and possibly the week after that. You'll be hearing from one of the faculty who will set up a meeting. I already had one very on top of it, on spot freshman bring in their paperwork before Elizabeth, the department secretary, actually set up the basket. So I put the basket in SMC 224, which is the comm suite, and I also put some really nicely crafted pink arrows that Dr. Metz made fun of me for because he's not sure that without those pink arrows you could find the basket SMC 224, but when you get lost, you can thank me for the pink arrows. So that's freshman foresight, and then for those of you who are sophomores, the sophomore check is coming up, and we are currently working on preparations for that, so you can expect some information forthcoming, probably before spring break, okay? Anything else? Any other announcements? Well, today is Forensics Day. We realize that we haven't really adequately celebrated the students who worked so hard and have won a number of awards to represent us in debate and forensics. We have had debate and forensics for several years. There are trophies in the trophy case that belong to them, and they are here today to present their pieces that they use in competition. They're coached by Becky Veit, so she is here to explain the whole process.
Okay, I'm going to keep my talking to somewhat of a minimum. Sorry for my voice coming off of a diagnosis of strep throat and walking pneumonia, so I'm trying to keep my germs to myself. So for those of you who don't know what forensics is competitive public speaking, and I'll pull up my little competitive public speaking for colleges and universities. And at the college level, there are no divisions. And so all colleges and universities that have debate and forensics compete together. So the really cool opportunity is that you're competing against Division I schools, major universities. I don't know that Harvard has forensics and debate, but if they did, they would be competing against Spring Arbor University. So that's the kind of cool opportunity you have to be exposed to not only judges and professors from around the country from these other institutions, but also colleagues in your level of education. And then the other thing to understand about forensics in particular is that there are 3 main areas in forensics. There's 11 events, so it's kind of like track and field, but just like in track and field where there's relays, there's field events, and there's open races, there are 3 main divisions to forensics, and those are the ones in boxes up there. There's prepared, limited preparation, and then interpretive. So under prepared, you have informative speech, you have persuasive speaking, you have after dinner speaking, which is usually a persuasive or an informative speech that's comedic in nature. It's not stand-up comedy. It has to be intelligent humor, and it has to have a point to it. So, but it's very fun to listen to. And then rhetorical criticism is usually taking an artifact that exists out in the world and doing a study or a criticism of whether or not that artifact applies to a theory. So it's kind of heady, really super interesting. So like, for example, one of the first ones I was ever exposed to was a Swedish commercial where it was a anti-HIV or protection against HIV and AIDS commercial, where you see a couple kind of getting their romance on, and you never see the face of the male, you only see the face of the female, and you see the back of the head of the male. And then at the end of the commercial, you see that it's Hitler. And so the point of the commercial is saying that unprotected sex is like exposing yourself to genocide, in the sense that you're killing off not only yourself, but you're killing off potentially other people. And then that person was comparing as to whether or not that met some criteria for a particular theory and met the elements of that. So that's what rhetorical criticism is. Limited preparation is impromptu, and then extemporaneous speaking. Extemporaneous speaking is regarding current events, not only nationwide but worldwide, and so you have to be exposed to politics and understanding really what's going on in current events to be able to speak to that intelligently. And it's an 8 to 10 minute speech. All of these are generally 8 to 10 minute speeches with sources. And so extemporaneous, you pull it, draw a topic, you have 30 minutes to prep your speech with like cited sources, and then you give an 8 to 10 minute mostly memorized speech. And then impromptu, the only one that runs different to the 8 to 10 minute rule is impromptu, and that's 5 to 7 minutes, and we'll get to see an example of that here today. And then the third area is interpretive, and the 5 categories of interpretive are prose, poetry, dramatic interp, which is anything taken from stage, film, or radio, and then program oral interpretation is a combination of those 3. So it's taking these 3 genres and putting it into a program. And then the last area of competition is duo, which is 2 people taking anything from prose, poetry, or dramatic interp and combining it into a really cool and creative program. The interesting thing about Duo is that you can't ever look at your partner, nor do you ever touch them. And so there's some really fascinating elements to watching Duo, because there's these kind of unwritten rules as to how you do it. The other thing that's true about interpretive that you'll see example of today is they use black books. And Dan has one right here that he's getting ready to use and show you. The black book is kind of like the Bible of interpretives, and it indicates that you are publicly performing someone else's work. And so it's an act of respect to the fact that there's an author and someone who's created the work that you're getting ready to interpret and to perform. So there's other rules about how it's handled, how it's closed, how it's opened, how you turn the pages. So there's all these kind of little unwritten rules as to how it functions. But any questions regarding just the areas of forensics?
It would seem to me that coming upon this the first time, it would seem like a blur, and it would seem a little overwhelming. So I would imagine that if that's what you're experiencing, this is a good overview from Professor Pike, but you would find, if you were interested in being a part of the team, that with time, you would be able to resonate with one of those categories and run with it with some passion.
Most students would tell you that it's kind of like a Catholic Mass. You don't actually know how to describe it until you witness it, until you're part of it. So with all due respect to Catholic Masses, I mean, unless you grow up in the Catholic faith, then there really just kind of is a foreign element to it until you see it and experience it. And most students who've been part of forensics and debate would say that that's true. You have to observe it to go, oh, okay, now I get it. So today we're going to have the opportunity to see a couple interp pieces. They both happen to be poetry. Dan is going to start us off with a piece of poetry, and then Sarah, and then Alex Shoemaker was supposed to do an impromptu speech. He got called into work at the last minute. He's only taking one course this semester, so he doesn't actually live on campus. He lives in the Detroit area, and got called in last minute last night into work this morning at 6 a.m. So he was going to try to get up to be here, but because he's not here, I don't think this will work. So Dan has been kind enough to go, I'll do an impromptu, which is probably his least favorite thing to do.
Not impromptu.
But okay, it is his least favorite, and then to compete. But he's been kind enough to do that. So in order for him to be able to do the impromptu, we need a little bit of your help. So I'm going to pass out some slips here, and your job is to write some element of a quotation. So it could be a song lyric, it could be a line from a movie, it could be a famous saying. And then just keep those while Dan is performing, and then I'll collect them when he's done. And teachers or professors, you can be part of that too, writing those. And then, so part of Dan's job in speaking impromptu would be literally just to pull a quotation out of the hat and speak on it. So, okay, so we're gonna let Dan start us off. And I'm going to step out to go look at my timer so that I can time you in the questions, but so we'll let Dan. Dan's going to just share also a little bit about his, and Sarah going to share a little bit about what it is they found true from the student perspective about forensics, and I'll let him take it
Okay, so like it's been said, what's on the board does look a little overwhelming. The first time I saw all of that stuff, I kind of got freaked out. And the first time I went to a competition, I got even more freaked out because the people that are competing in these compete their pieces every day, every Saturday, and they know them backwards and front. They know what they're doing. They know their sources. They know everything to a T, and they are really good at it. I mean, really good at it. But I mean, like it was mentioned, once you start seeing some of the stuff that is being done, you will. You start to find the stuff that you really like. And one of them that I found was poetry, and that's why I did a poetry. The first exposure that you would get to this is in Speech 340, which is the observation class, really what it is. And during that class, what we do is we go to multiple competitions, and all you do is just observe the events. So you get to see impromptus being done, poetry being done. It's really intimidating, but it gets you a really good exposure to what these events are really about. because like they said, it's not, you can't really know what this stuff is until you've actually witnessed it and been really a part of it. The most, like I said, the most horrifying thing for me is impromptu. I do not like it at all. But I actually made it to nationals for some reason. I don't quite understand it. And so that's why I volunteered to do impromptu. Impromptu, you'll be surprised. People look like they're doing a speech that they've been practicing for months. An impromptu speech has, you have to have, what you'll do is you'll get a quote like I'm going to. You will interpret that quote. You will either agree or disagree with that interpretation, and then you'll give 2 reasons why, and then for each of those 2 reasons you'll have 2 examples. And your examples need to vary from pop culture to literature, history, current events, stuff like that. You don't want to use the same thing over and over again. Like I've seen people get up there and just use nothing but pop culture, which is actually a popular thing to do, and you definitely get marked up for that type of thing because they like you to have a variety of sources. So honestly, the main prep for an impromptu speech is just gathering sources. If you see something that's kind of interesting, researching it more and getting into it. And as far as the competitions go, it's kind of a culture shock. When you get there, you will be very surprised because this is not a Christian competition. Actually, the majority of the people there, I would think, really lean more towards the atheist side, or at least very liberal. You will hear swearing, a lot of it. You will hear topics that you don't usually hear talked about. And these guys are passionate about what they're talking about. I mean, they know their stuff, and so there might be stuff that you don't quite agree with, but you find yourself wondering because there's someone who is speaking so profoundly and making so much sense, talking about something that you are completely against. My first year, the main topic was around homosexuality, and I was surprised at the stuff that came out about that. I mean, there was an after-dinner speech from a guy who was bisexual, and it was really persuasive. I mean, it was, he was trying to persuade people that that bisexuality is not, just someone who's confused. It's actually an orientation. Everything he said made a lot of sense. It was a really good speech, and that's what you're going to find here. You're going to be it's going to be a lot different than Spring Arbor. But I think it's good to get out of our little bubble here and experience this kind of stuff. Experience what the real world is, because once we graduate here, that's what you're going to be dealing with. Especially if you're going to be going into, the communication world. Not everybody's going to be coming from a Christian university like we are. There's a lot of colleges out there that are putting out a lot of people for communication world, and you're going to be competing for jobs against these very people, and you're going to have to be working with these very people, and so that's just something that you're going to have to deal with. So yeah, that's my little bit about that. I'm going to do my poetry now. My queen, when you first set sail and set off to sea, I stood on the shore, tongue-tied, and stubbornly holding tears behind my eyes, because no matter how much I liked you, girl, there was still a bit of boy in me, and I wasn't about to weep with you staring back at me, smiling. The unmet expectations theory by Dr. Paul Patton states that expectations are unmet when they are shared or unshared, too extravagant, or shared but ignored. It also states that when expectations are unmet, that leads to disappointment. Disappointment creates resentment, and resentment creates contempt. We can see this is especially true in those involved in intimate relationship, with a divorce rate as high as 50% in America. A major problem for those in those intimate relationships is expectations being too extravagant, or the fairy tale mentality. Through excerpts from Correspondence, a fiction by Levi the Poet, we can see that if you spend too much time focusing on the fairy tale, you lose what you have in reality. My everything. I found your letter inside of a bottle and didn't know what to say. It was broken further down the cove, shattered, and such a hollow grave. Ink spilled, and I write your poem, and it was like life itself. Starved for hope, like the waters were too hard to navigate. But it figures, if I was going to build us a home, well, then your heart would find its way. The bottle shattered against a seashell and rewrote the story that it would tell any little girl who might pick up the whitewashed tune, expecting to hear the ocean, listening for the crescendo and the crash, when at last she'll hear the echoes of your whispers. These bottles will carry my heart home, and the currents will be kind. And my lover's letters will return to me, and our children will grow to find that all is not for naught. And though all is not yet healed, their parents, they worked hard for it. And the storms honored their appeals to see that though my father's drowning, his bottles float above the waves, and though I used to dread the water, waves will be faithful to crash every day until at last I see your face. Things aren't the same. I've been picking up splinters of lumber for the floorboards and wondering about all our splintered promises, like even though we didn't have control over breaking, O's like these don't count for much. My love, while you were weighing anchor, I was weighing my options, thinking, why? Like no one would satisfy, but if love is true, then the tide will carry mine too. You know I drowned in the undercurrent before I let myself lose our happy ending. It's the future I miss the most. 17 years from now, I want to be younger and as carefree as I can be. I want you next to me, and I want you to reflect all the best of me. I want the fairy tale parenthetical porch swing, metaphorically morphing our distorted upbringing into enough of a string to hang by to believe it can be redeemed. I know there's beauty out there. I'm sure you see it on the ocean, and even if the crew has started to look as white as the whale they're chasing. I've been reading through Moby Dick, 700 pages of Old English and rhetoric, and I can't really understand it all. But Captain Ahab's looking pretty pale. Be careful. I'm building our treehouse. I hid it far enough away so that when we run, we can stay. And I wrote out the location like a secret on a treasure map. However long your voyage, you'll have a place to call your home when you come back. The ladder is nailed to the trunk, and I started hammering at the foundation to be sure that we have something to build our future on. How I long for that day I get to see your face. My strength, my hope, my song. When I sit on the pier and wait for the black abyss to spit out your letters, my heart rises and falls with the water, and sometimes I wish it would swallow me. I swear sometimes breathing feels just like drowning, stuck here in between. But when your bottles float in, there is nothing as beautiful as their dim glow, and my heart longs for them. Their colors catch my eye. Dark bourbon and molded green, protecting white sheets painted with calligraphic handwriting, tainted with damp expressions of the bottle's history, but purely you. Purely you. I've been thinking about just what beauty is, but no matter how much I think about it, it doesn't add to it. All I know is that it points beyond itself, like I long beyond your letters, like I long for you. I've seen the entire spectrum of the ripples beneath my bare feet and the edge of this weathered dock and thought, God, there's got to be more than this. I have no idea what to believe, but beauty pulls me beyond myself, so I know I don't believe in nothing. Will you come home? This treehouse won't be that without you. My lady, I've combed every inch of this island looking for the final pieces of wood needed to complete our wooded treehouse. I marked the path with cryptic carvings, arrows for right turns, and bayonets for left. And you can bet that if anyone sniffs out our footsteps, every adult would think no one would be dull enough to jump off the waterfall. We're going to give this life everything we got. And if that means jumping off really high rocks into really deep water, then so be it. You'll get a chance to see your wishes come true beneath the stars that I heard you whisper to when I pretended to be asleep all those months ago. I think it's my time to come to your rescue. If all our bottles find their way to one another, then surely our hands can too. I've been sawing off branches to make room for our rooms and pitching them together to keep the moisture from coming through. I lifted a sail between the logs, nailed an engine to the trunk, and stood at the front to keep myself from falling. If you're listening, we always talked about taking this voyage together. We didn't want to die in our sleep, like so many people wish for. You said that you thought it sounded boring. And even though dying scared me, I wanted to be brave enough to engage in the fantasy. I finished our treehouse with the few scraps of dead wood that I was able to drag back to land. It seemed fitting, after our whole lives were broken homes, for all those shipwrecked pieces to complete one. It's beautiful. I feel like you might have called it redemption. For a split second, I watched the last of your craft fall beneath the surface of the water. I thought that we are only a stone in the ocean, and maybe it didn't matter whether or not we lived or died. But you were right about taking thoughts captive. I'm lonely. And I can't reconcile loneliness with meaningless because, like beauty, it leaves me wanting more. You are still a decision that floats out like debris and on the ripples that your stones throw. You were a mountain to me. Your earthquake leaves me trembling, and I long beyond your beauty, past your breaking, and into whoever is responsible for your new beginning. I guess this is goodbye. I knocked on every inch of this wooded treehouse to keep that word away, but goodbye, despite all my effort, still remains. This is the last of our bottles. If it ever makes its way out to the new world, know that it was unending love that carried it to you. And that death that threatened it, conquered it, and it is beautiful. It cannot fail. Definitely. Infinitely. Intimate.
Okay, I'll start getting ready out to work here.
Make a piece of paper that
Oh, Lisa's gonna cover.
Sorry, I missed you yesterday. Will you be here today, this afternoon? Okay.
Hold on, we don't have it yet.
Alright guys, this is Sarah.
That's Lacey.
No problem.
Yeah, I'll touch on my experience in forensics. I came in as a freshman, and Becky actually convinced me. I had her first speech through 12, first semester of my freshman year, and I had done theater all throughout high school, and I just felt like this would be kind of like a good way to kind of like get back in with it. I was a little intimidated by like college theater, like I hadn't done it in a while, and I missed it, and so I just decided, yeah, that sounds really fun. I'll give it a try. And I remember
Amanda Patillo once said that it will like physically stretch you and it will emotionally stretch you and mentally stretch you. And I was just like, okay. But now I really see that. I usually end up being like, this is like, I don't really care about it though. I usually end up getting sick after a tournament because I'm just so tired and exhausted from staying up until like 3 a.m. reciting my piece. I've written on like signs on my door saying like, I'm okay, don't worry. Because I don't want them to like be walking past my room and hear me like screaming to myself in the middle of the night. But I love poetry, and I really, when I observed it, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I think my favorite part about it, when it comes to like interpretive pieces, is like creating it. Because what I've done for my poetry is a little different than dance. I've taken 3 poems and 3 songs, because songs are basically poetry. And I've just like molded them, like I've taken stuff out, there's one poem, I just used like 1 stanza of it, and it's just so great, you just like mold it together, and like scroll through my computer and be like, okay, I don't like that, like, oh, I should add this in here. And it does take a long time, it's a very long process, but the end piece is so worth it. So, I got it. Welcome to hell! Last call for the train heading to nowhere. You want to buy a ticket? What's the cost, you ask? Just hop on board and we'll talk once you're trashed. Now trust me, give me your hand. Close your eyes and picture something grand. To a beach with water and the sun is shining down. Open up. No beach here. You're hellbound! Something always brings me back to you. Never takes too long. No matter what I say or do, I'll still feel you here till the moment I'm gone. You hold me without touch, and you keep me without chains. The National Institute on Drug Abuse found that in the year 2015, 52 million Americans admitted to abusing prescription medication by the age of 12. The Foundation for a Drug-Free World found that 50% of teenagers actually believe that using prescription drugs is safer than using the illegal street drugs. What people don't tend to see is that when these drugs cause addictions, they really start doing more harm than good. And addictions don't make pain and hurt go away, it just increases it. And the side effects from addictions are more than skin deep. Through the works, The Voice of Addiction by Carrie Rausch, Welcome to Hell by Nellie Barnes, A Drug-Filled World by Ankit Sharma, Gravity by Sarah Bareilles, Monster by Gavin Brown and John Cooper, and Untitled by Pierre Bouvier, we will see the ugly sides of these addictions. I'll be sure not to leave your side. We'll become very fast acquainted. My naive child, there's no use trying to hide. I should probably introduce myself. I'm your very own addiction. Welcome to hell. I'm told to feel a certain way. Suddenly, heartbreak doesn't feel sad. Tears don't feel salty. And love doesn't feel good at all. And pain is something I can't feel. Well, it is nice to finally meet you. I've been waiting for your call. And I've noticed you've been crying, and I've watched you pace the halls. Whatever has been hurting you, I can make it go away. You know you have nothing to lose, nothing to fear, nothing to live for. Welcome to hell. It's scratching on the walls, in the closet, in the halls. It comes awake and I can't control it. Hiding under the bed, it's in my body, it's in my head. Why won't somebody come and save me from this? Make it end! I laugh at you as you toss your life in the wind. Too far gone, it is us till the end. I'll be there when you lose your pride, when you forget your morals. I'm at your side. Welcome to hell. I live here on my knees as I try to make you see that you're everything I think I need. I can't seem to let you go. All I know is you're keeping me down. And I feel it deep within, and it's just beneath my skin. I must confess, I feel like a monster. I hate what I've become. Nightmares just begun. Leave me be! I bet you feel rather stupid falling right into my lap. I am a master at manipulation. Oh, you'll never escape my trap.
How does it feel to dance with the devil?
For he and I are one and the same. God has completely abandoned you. So you might as well stay in the game. You'll land in jail, you'll remain an addict, and your heart turns cold as you play the game. Strip your dignity right here. Self-respect is long forgotten. Welcome to hell. Next stop. Dead. I'll always be your dirty little secret. I won't disappear over time. 20 years from now, you may falter, and I'll be the first thing that comes to mind. A vicious cycle. That's what you're thinking. But I'm only speaking the truth. I am Satan's weapon of mass destruction. I am the silent killer of America's youth. I am your very own addiction. Welcome to hell. I don't want to fall another moment into your gravity. Here I am, and I stand so tall. Just the way I'm supposed to be. But you're onto me, and all over me. Set me free. Are you honestly going to try and beat me? A useless battle if you want to know, but go ahead, make an attempt. Besides, I'm in the mood for a good show. I guess you think you're special, but your sobriety has lasted only a year. I'm still around every corner in the back of your mind. I'm your greatest fear. Welcome to hell. It's hiding in the dark. Its teeth are razor sharp. There's no escape for me. It wants my soul. It wants my heart. No one can hear me scream. But maybe it's just a dream. Or maybe it's inside of me. Stop this monster! Stop. Stop this monster. I told you I'd stick it out till the end. You traded your dreams and the life for me, your friend, your faithful addiction. It is genius when you think of it. Everyone's looking for some Armageddon war. But what the fools don't realize is everyday Armageddon walks through their front door. Welcome to hell. How did this happen to me? I made my mistakes. Got nowhere to run. And the night goes on as I'm fading away. I hate what I've become, and this nightmare's just begun as I'm fading away. I just want to scream, how?
second cues while he's prepping, so he knows how long he's prepping. You ready?
Yeah.
He only gets to draw one.
Yeah, seriously. What is this? I know what it's from, but I'm even thinking about the entire speech. And it's just...
Okay, go.
All right, sorry.
Sarah, for your selection, did you
30 seconds.
choose your sources?
Like the pieces?
Yes.
Yes.
Put them together.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting to hear, Sarah, and you know how you went through the process of the mastery of the material, like the cultivation of the memory. How often was it a daily
1 minute.
ritual, that kind of thing. Very powerful.
Peter Pan was the boy who never grew up. He always had this, the joy of life in himself. And he always had, was always ready for the next adventure, for what was going to happen tomorrow. Which brings us to today's quote, which was, "To die, it would be an awfully big adventure," from Peter Pan. And we can interpret this to mean that we should look forward to tomorrow. And we can agree with this for two reasons. First off, because there's mystery in tomorrow. And secondly, because that's everything that we've been working for. Now, first off, there's mystery in tomorrow. And we can see this through the examples of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty and Walter Mitty. So Walter Mitty lived a pretty mundane life. He went to work every day, working for Life magazine, and until one day his life just kind of almost came to an end because Life magazine was closing down, and he didn't really know what he was going to do. But then he had this amazing thing happen when the final cover of the picture for the final cover was lost, and so he had to go strike out on an adventure to find this final key to Life magazine. It was It was an amazing adventure for him. And, you know, it was something that he wouldn't have known about the day before. It was something that he wouldn't have seen coming. But it added to his life so much, which just shows that there's mystery in tomorrow. And our next reason is that that's what we've been looking for, or working for. Now, first off, we look at the first example of this, we can look at learning to play a musical instrument. Now, when you're learning to play a musical instrument, you're not really working for what's happening today. You know, because you're most likely today is not going to be the day that you master the guitar or master the piano or master the bass or anything like that. We're working for what's going to happen tomorrow. We're working for what we're going to attain. We're working for that final goal. Another example of this is the life of Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo grew up in like just really low circumstances, and everyone told him that he couldn't do what he knew he wanted to do, which was become a soccer player. And now he's one of the greatest soccer players that there is, and it was all because he worked for tomorrow. He continued to work on his playing. He worked and worked and worked and worked for tomorrow, worked for the benefits that would come then. Which just goes to show that tomorrow is what we work for. And that brings us back to today's quotation, which was that to die would be an awfully big adventure, which we took to mean that we should look forward to tomorrow. And we agreed with this for two reasons. That there's mystery in tomorrow, and tomorrow is what we're working for. Now, returning to our teaser, Peter Pan was always looking forward to tomorrow. You know, that's what he meant by to die would be an awfully big adventure, because he was enjoying the mystery of tomorrow. He was working for it. He was just living today for the joy that would come tomorrow.
I know that wasn't fun.
No.
But they did a great job. We celebrate your hard work and your commitment to your pieces. They were beautiful. Thank you for sharing them with us. Becky, do you want to play us out?
Let's pray. God, thank you for everybody in this room. Thank you for who they are. Thank you for who they're becoming and the opportunity to journey along with them in that. And I pray as we continue to move forward, God, that you would work in us, work around us, and work in spite of us, and somehow change the world in a redemptive fashion so that it's more like what you desire, and we're more like what you desire, and we're the best versions of ourselves. So we pray for that. Thank you for your presence, and we're so grateful to be able to be called sons and daughters. We pray above all things that our lives would somehow tell you that we love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you all for coming.